Native Instruments is having a sale on their S Series MIDI controller keyboards, and they're really good. They don't have sales very often, but if you're looking for a keyboard that integrates out of the box with your Komplete bundle or the Maschine software, this is the way to go. I've been pining after one of these keyboards for quite a while. I have quite a few MIDI controller keyboards, and this Novation Launchkey MK3 has been a real staple in my studio. It's only 49 keys, but it does everything that I want. What I realized is that with the Native Instruments keyboards, they are task specific, whereas Novation takes a very generic approach. You can make this keyboard do anything, but is that what people want? I think I'm inclined to lean towards the 61 key version. You won't find pads on any of the Komplete Kontrol keyboards, but it kind of makes sense because they sell the Maschine as a separate device. And I think in an ideal world, Native Instruments would like you to buy a controller keyboard and then buy a Maschine and own both. But they have a really efficient way of creating music using the encoders and the knobs and the controls that are built into their keyboards. Made to be played is very true. You've got transport controls, and you've got the ability to browse through presets. You've got these 8 encoders that provide different functions depending on what you're doing. You've got a jog wheel. You've got these LEDs, which they call light guide. For a lot of the instruments that are built into Komplete Kontrol or Maschine, those lights are used to differentiate patterns and different sounds. The keypad itself is very good quality. Kind of warrants the price. For a lot of studio work, the 49 keyboard version is probably sufficient. But if you plan on playing live, like I do, the 61 is kind of the minimum. These things are all true. It is more visual. It's quite intuitive. You can be very expressive, and the integration with Maschine and various DAWs like Logic and Ableton is top-notch. They're not kidding when they say immersive visual feedback. This point at the bottom, pre-mapped and ready to play, is a big factor for people who are new to the Native Instruments ecosystem. If you're not into programming a MIDI controller and you just want everything to work out of the box, this is a good way to go. Admittedly, the workflow for using Komplete Kontrol or the Maschine 2 software has a learning curve attached to it. It'll take an investment, but once you learn it, it is very efficient. You've got this conflict between controlling the DAW and controlling the Native Instruments software. So by default, the controller is usually in session mode, in which case the controls control the DAW. Faders, the pads, the pods, all of these controls for changing tracks, navigating your way through. Like I said, everything works pretty much the way you would expect. Show a mixer, then all the faders, you can see those moving as well. But when it comes to Native Instruments Komplete Kontrol, the keys being color-coded, purple keys execute patterns. And the other colored keys execute individual sounds. But in order to have these encoders work, Launchpad has to be in a custom mode. And you get there by pressing Shift, Custom. And now these encoders will change parameters. You can see it changing right here. So for example, if I want to change the level, brightness. So I can basically map any of the buttons to do functions within the Native Instruments Komplete Kontrol software. Macro button up at the top here, you can see how those macros are assigned. So it displays them, you can see them turning. If you click on this Midi button, this is where you can turn on the Learn mode and basically train Komplete Kontrol to pick up on these CC numbers from your keyboard and map those to do certain functions. But some of the things you cannot control are the picking of or the browsing of presets on the left over here. If I want to preview a different sound. To access that, I'm having to use my mouse. Now there is a mouse function on the controller. There I stand corrected. It will let you browse through the presets, but I don't think you can load one. Let me see if no. There's no way to press enter, which would load that particular kit. So you can map the encoders and you can map the pads to work with Komplete Kontrol. So what we have is a scenario where the DAW controls still work with Logic. I can navigate up and down different tracks, and I can do all the basic stuff that you would do with the DAW controls, but at the same time, I can control within Native Instruments, I can control parameters. Now, using the Launchpad to control the Maschine 2 software is a little bit more limiting. Obviously, the Midi keyboard is there, so you can execute sounds. And you could play drums by choosing a kit. And if you were serious about using the pads, you could put the pads into drum mode by pressing Shift, Drum. You could map those pads to each and every drum and then use the pads on the controller just like you would on a Maschine device. But the transport controls and a lot of the other controls are going to get confused about whether you're trying to control Logic or the Maschine 2 software. So if I press play, yeah, it will execute the project that's in the Maschine 2 software from Native Instruments, but it's also, as you could see, executing the Logic song up above. So the cursor for Logic was moving at the same time. You can see it up there at the top. If I press stop, it's going to go back to the beginning. And there's no easy way to really browse. So the first thing you can see is I have Logic open, and within Logic, it loads a configuration for the keyboard automatically. And you know it's loaded when this track button is illuminated. And when it's in track mode, you've got basically DAW control. So you can see the jog wheel moves the cursor around. You can play. You can turn the loop area off and on, record, undo, redo, quantize. All of that kind of stuff works as you would expect. And by default, the 8 encoders you can see are moving the faders for volume. Okay, so that is the basic Logic integration, and it works well. No complaints. Now, if you have a track that has Komplete Kontrol, then you need to switch to this plugin mode by clicking on the plugin button. Encoders all work in Komplete Kontrol instead of in Logic. There's actually 2 buttons. One is for the plugin, which is going to control the parameters of the plugin. But over to the left here, to navigate the library, you have to click on the browser button. And then you can see the jog wheel lets you pick and choose and load sounds. You know, it's got basically the full access to the library there. The advantage here is that the encoders are mapped for the instrument that you happen to be using, and you can switch between the browser mode, the plugin mode, and the track instance. I'm a big fan of Native Instruments, and I think they make some great hardware and great software. There's a philosophical difference going on here, is that with Native Instruments controllers, you're getting delivered integration, features that will let you take advantage of Komplete Kontrol and the Maschine 2 software. Whereas a company like Novation has taken the path of creating a generic MIDI controller device that's highly programmable. There's software that comes with this that will let you reprogram the CC numbers and the MIDI notes on almost every control. And that's the debate. Do you want to have MIDI controllers that are specific to a certain software vendor, or do you want something more generic? Now, I can tell you that my inclination is to take advantage of the integration. I'd ideally like to have both. I plan to keep my Novation Launchkey 49, but I still might take advantage of that sale from Native Instruments. If you find this video helpful and interesting, click on the like button, consider subscribing to the channel, and leave a comment. I'm always interested in your opinion. Thanks for watching.